Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Stabilize. I'm here today with Jordan. How are we doing, Jordan?
Not too bad, thank you.
That is good. And on my right, we have top 8, Matt Burriss, LatAm International. How are we doing, Matt?
Bit jet lagged, but I'm doing fine, thanks, Mitch.
That is good. When did you get back?
6 a.m. this morning.
Oh, geez. So, doing the good thing and making sure that you get in nice and quickly for the video. Appreciate that.
Of course.
We've got the list up on the screen. We'll talk through it in just a second. But yeah, Mewtwo, man. Like, when was Mewtwo the thing that you decided to play?
So I was testing PG a lot, like, in the months leading up, and the deck felt, like, super broken. Like, I play it on ladder, have, like, 15 game win streaks. Like, the deck just was consistent and working. And then Brent was, gradually messaging me this really weird Mewtwo list. It had, like, Forbidden Light Greninja GX in there and, like, all these tag calls and these new cards. I didn't even know what they did, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Righto.
sure, champ. Like, yeah, I don't see myself playing this because PG's too broken. Then, like, about a week before I left, Brent would give me his, like, weekly update or whatever, and I was looking over the list, and I'd finally knew what all the cards did for once.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I recognise all of these things.
Yeah, so it looked about just like 58 cards from what we actually played. So at that point, I'd finally put in some like input in the list. I was like, oh yeah, we probably don't need Reshizard. We can put in Charizard and Breaks, and that card's super broken in the PG matchup because, like, from what I'd tested, Charizard and Breaks is such a pain to deal with as a PG player because you can't just like chip and give them a fire energy because then they just GX attack and attach.
And it's fine.
Attach 5. So we put that in, and at that point the list was testing super well, like favorables against just about everything we put against it. So decided to give it the run.
Yeah,
I'm personally very happy to hear that you didn't end up going with Pidgeotto. And
yes.
looking at the results, it seems like that was a pretty good decision. Obviously, you made top 8, and that's good. And Pidgeotto, I'd say, in a lot of people's opinions, ended up underperforming at the event. A lot of people seem to counteract the matchup, yourselves included. So definitely seems like it was a good medical, and probably I think it was the most popular deck in D2 as well.
Yeah. I think ADP might have been, but like it might have been like a tie or like 1 or 2 off maybe.
It was played a lot. It did well.
Yeah,
our version definitely wasn't though. It was mainly just like turbo variants, similar to like before Cosmic Eclipse came out.
No worries, but yeah, no. Well, let's look through some of the cards now. I've got the Pokemon line up here. Now, obviously, choosing to run with 3 Mewtwo. That Perfection ability is very good, and we've got a lot of cool attackers to run with. I'll run through them all very quickly. We've got some classic ones like Charizard, the promo from Hidden Fates. We've got Latios GX. We've got Espedio. We've got Solgaleo. We've got the elusive Master Greninja from Detective Pikachu, which would have done very well against a few nasty Keldeos. The aforementioned Charizard Braixen and the Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. There's a lot of cool cards here, Matt. How did you kind of work down to get to these specific techs in your list?
So funnily enough, we actually decided on the Pokemon fairly early, since we were only running Rainbow Energy instead of the normal Psychic Energy. We realized cards like Makago just didn't have enough value to be in the list. So we decided for more like energy efficient attackers like Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. Surprisingly, I'm not sure why, but a lot of the Mewtwo lists decided not to play this card.
Yeah, really weird decision. It seems like it's perfect for this deck, but that's okay.
Like, it does an insane amount of damage. Like, extreme value, especially when you consider you can power it up in 1 turn. Like, the amount of times, like, especially in the Mewtwo mirror, their board would be like a Mewtwo and a Dedenne, and then for 3 energy, I just take a 1-shot on the second turn, and it's
Easy.
like,
No
this
worries.
card's so good.
You mentioned already the Charizard Braixen. Obviously, the Charizard GX was really strong as well. Ability Zard obviously won the tournament. How did you find that particular matchup? Because I know when I was playing Ability Zard against Mewtwo, I'd always hate it. How did you go with it?
despite what the top 8 match looked like, I reckon it's fairly close. If you want to make it any closer, you'd have to play Naganadel GX to stop them from just like going 6 energy Turtonator into Victini, which is a problem for this list. But we knew going in that even just the threat of Naganadel GX would stop most lists from like trying to attempt that strategy.
Yeah.
Of course, Robin by then knew pretty much the whole list.
Yeah.
Since we were bragging about it, the 100% conversion rate list, it's so broken.
It's so
like
good.
You don't even need any of these cards, and he's like, all
right,
right,
here we
well,
go.
I know that. So for future, you'd probably have to play Naganadel GX, but for this tournament, it, like the Pokemon selection was fine. There wasn't really an attack I was desperately missing in terms of Pokemon, at least.
Perfect.
Well, yeah. I watched the stream game as well, and it definitely seemed like Robin was playing around, knowing exactly what cards were in your list. Do you think that there are any other Pokemon you would consider besides the Naganadel moving forward? Like, as you already said, that you'd probably consider putting that in, but do you think it's necessary to play any of those cards that you didn't end up running in the list at this tournament?
Honestly, we built the list very like matchup dependent, so we cut out all like the fluff, you know, like Makagos and Reshizards, knowing that we generally didn't need them for any matchup. So yeah, maybe just Naganadel GX, because you have trouble sniping, 1 prizes on the bench.
Yeah.
I know I versed a baby Blacephalon Pidgey deck, and he could just chuck Pokédolls up in the active, and that was very
really
annoying. Yeah, I got lucky that he missed a couple some turns, but like in theory that could be quite a big problem. So if anything, just an Naganadel.
That seems like a bad matchup, and
that seems rough.
I certainly would hope that you didn't play against too many, because I don't think there were too many overall on day 2, but they were definitely around.
Yeah, they definitely were.
And then we've obviously got the classic cards that fit in that Mewtwo deck, the Solgaleo, the SBDO, the Latios. Those cards obviously staple in this particular deck. The Greninja GX I really, really like. Obviously knowing that ADP was going to be one of those big decks going into the tournament. Was this an auto-include for you, or did it take a little bit of time to get that particular card into the list?
Oh, it was an auto-include, I think, from the first list that I was even sent. We knew that just based on Japanese tournament results that Keldeo was going to be a lot more popular, especially in these ADP decks. So yeah, pretty much just an auto-include. 2 energy for 130 is also a very efficient attack.
That's pretty good, yeah. That's pretty solid.
Not just against Keldeos as well, but we figured out this really cool like math you can do against an ADP, where even if they have a choice helmet attached, you can miss slash it for 130 and then hit it with like jumping balloon or brilliant flare for 150 to take a knockout through choice helmets, which is actually really useful.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's really good.
And then Elusive Master, funnily enough, you could use against not so experienced Pidgey players, because if they chip Ice Axe, gave you a Cherish Ball, you could Cherish Ball for the Greninja.
Draw some cards.
You can Elusive Master for 3 cards under Power Plant, which is pretty funny.
Oh wow, that's really good.
I did that on ladder a couple of times and they just scooped immediately. But
cool.
I ended up having to use Elusive Master a couple times to get out of dead hands. So yeah, it's just a great card.
Hey, it gives you an option.
Seems like it would have paid off for you pretty well at the tournament. There are a couple other cards you could include, such as like Turtonator. I've seen some people play all the Giratina to counter Keldeo, but the Greninja definitely seems like the best one to go. I would say that the Pokemon that sticks out to me most that's missing from your list is that baby Marshadow that we've seen almost as a staple in most Mewtwo lists up until now, including Henry playing it in the World Championship list. What was your thought process behind playing 0 copies of that Marshadow?
So the standard Mewtwo lists were generally playing Mysterious Treasure, or in like Toad's case, Communication, to search it out. So we definitely thought about it as an inclusion because we expected Reshi Greens to be quite popular after doing so well on the special events. So we just grinded out games against that matchup and realized that stadiums generally aren't a problem when you have so many outs to stadiums in the form of Guzma and Hala, and then tag call for them. And then you could also use Brilliant Flare for the stadiums as well. you generally can force out the resets really early, so it's generally less effective, the whole like power plant stamp strategy, and we figured out a line of play using just benching the Charizard and Braixen against those power plant based decks that could let us beat just like 4 plant 4 stamp. So yeah, I'd definitely say if you have Mysterious Treasure in your deck, you absolutely do play it, but it was just one of those bite the bullet calls that ended up strangely working.
Hey, it did you a good job, and like you said, there's not a lot else that you'd really be searching for with those cards. Obviously, you're still playing the 4 Jirachi, you've got the 2 Dedenne there as a little bit of extra consistency, but the Pokemon line looks really, really strong. You mentioned a couple of cards that could have gone in, which is fantastic, but for now we'll just quickly move on to the rest of the list. And this is where I think it starts to get really, really cool, because obviously with cards like Tag Call, which is being cut off at the top half of the screen on the recording, I've just realised, Tag Call allows you to make some of those really big plays you were talking about before. You've got 2 copies of Guzmahala, you've got 2 copies of Mallow and Lana as well, to allow yourself to do some healing, as well as the fact that it's searching out, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your Pokemon. Tag Call seems like a really, really good card to include in this list, even though it might have been one that you kind of laughed at Brent a little bit about early on.
Yeah, I mean, just like, we figured Malolana is such an insane card, especially against some like problem matchups for the deck, like Malamar and ADP especially. So just being able to search like your deck, especially turn 1, we figured the Turbo Welder version of Mewtwo had some like consistency issues, so we figured we may as well just Tag Call for the Guzmahala, get like every piece out of the deck but Welder for the next turn, and like the Tag Calls just fit perfectly in being able to like thin your deck very, very fast, get a lot of cards out of your deck, and it's just got insane card value just getting 2 tag teams, like just being able to attack on turn 2 so easily with that card.
It's really, really strong. A couple of other counts which I think are really interesting. Obviously, you've still gone with the 3 Giant Hearth. How did you find that going up against decks playing things like Chaotic Swell? I know when we spoke to Henry, he said that this deck was effectively dead because it wasn't going to be able to search out the energy. Obviously, he was wrong. How did you find it when you were playing it?
So funnily enough, obviously going first is pretty great against the Chaotic Swell decks.
Yep, that seems pretty strong.
You get a free Giant Hearth, so maybe I got lucky there. But the main reason is that the main deck that was playing Chaotic Swell was ADP, of course, and you generally don't need much energy in the early games. You can just attach and pass a lot of the times in that matchup because they're doing the same thing, right? They have to attack. Pretty sure all the variants I versed were the slow like Tag Call Guzmahala version, so you can just like Guzmahala for the rainbow energy, attach and pass, and then next turn you can Miss Slash with the Greninja, and then next turn you attach and Jumping Balloon for knockout. So we figured the problem matchups with Chaotic Swell, you didn't need to go Turbo Welder just based on the fact that they're a slow deck as well.
Yeah, fair enough. It seems like a really, really cool way of going about it, and obviously being able to get around those annoying Keldeos is really strong. A couple of other cards I think are worth discussing in the item slot. Obviously things like Switch and a skateboard you're playing because you're playing Jirachi. The Stealthy Hood. Run us through the Stealthy Hood, because obviously it might be reasonable for some people, but others probably find Stealthy Hood a little bit of an awkward card to understand. Why did you include it in this list?
So it was mainly just for Malamars, because Shadow Box obviously shuts down the entire deck.
Seems pretty bad.
So with Guzmahala, you can search for the Infinity Gauntlet of Weakness Guard Energy and Stealthy Hood.
Just chuck them all out, here you go.
Which essentially gives you like 4 free prizes against Malamars. So definitely shutting down Shadow Box is the main use for the card, but it also has like a lot of really strange uses. Like against ADP, you can shut off their Absols. Against Ability Zard, you can shut off the Ninetales. Against some of the weird lock decks that Sander was using with the Mareep, you can shut off the Fluffy Pillow.
Yep.
so they can't lock you nearly as easily. But I mean, in most matchups, its main use is just discarding off
Yeah,
Giant
to be a
Hearth or
free
to
discard
Denhake
player.
it away. Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah,
really cool.
That really shows the strength of this tag team supporter engine that you guys have gone with this list. And for me personally, in previous iterations of Mewtwo, the supporter line was always the thing that I disliked the most. I always never really was a huge fan of Harpu or Bill's Analysis or any of those cards. They always felt a little off to me. But now that I see all these cool things that you can do with Guzma and Hala, and of course the Lana Mello, has perfect synergy with the Jirachi engine that you've chosen to go with. So I really like the support lineup here, and it really allows these techs like that Stealthy Hood to shine in matchups where you usually wouldn't be expecting it to come up, but all of a sudden you can just search for it with one card, and it's coming up pretty big.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, with techs especially, they'll tech cards into their deck that don't thin easily, so when it comes to the late game, they see them, they're like, this card's useless.
This is annoying, what a waste.
In this list, you can just Guzma for it early and, rip the band-aid off fast.
Yeah, get rid of it and see you later.
It thins itself super easily, so we may as well play it.
Fantastic. One other count which I think is really interesting is a super high 3 count of Great Catcher. I can't remember whether we mentioned this actually during the recording or beforehand, but this probably would be that slot if you were looking to change them to Ganondorf or GX, would you recommend?
Yeah, either the Great Catcher or if you're feeling risky, maybe cut an Acrobike.
Ooh, cut down to 3 Acros, fun times.
Yeah.
You got Jirachi, it could be okay.
Yeah, it could be fine. It's not a problem. But yeah, no, and then obviously into the energy in the list, there's 8 fire energy. You're playing Welder, so you're going to need to have those. We've already mentioned the 1 copy of Weak Guard energy, like you mentioned, being able to search for it with Guzma Hala, and then 3 rainbow energy. Since you're playing that Greninja, you need to play the rainbow energy in this list. How'd you find the split of energy? Was okay?
I mean, yeah, I'd like a little more fire, because sometimes you have some weak welders, but I think it's perfectly fine. Just, we figured with Guzma Hala just going the full rainbow energy and like the 1 weakness guard, obviously, for some certain matchups, just felt perfectly fine.
Beautiful, no worries. Well, that's the list. We obviously won't play it, because I wouldn't play it as well as you, Matt. Instead, what we'll do is we'll talk to you about the tournament itself. I hope you've written some notes down about the games that you played, because I'm about to ask you about each one individually. Do you happen to have the matchups that you played handy?
Yeah, I do.
Fantastic. Well, walk us through the tournament for you, mate.
Alright, so round 1 of us, Areshi Green's player. He didn't seem too experienced, at least. It felt like somebody might have just given him
Like, here's
the deck
off
beforehand. And, yeah, so it was actually pretty close. He whiffed his 4th power plant, I think, off a welder for game. So, he definitely played it fine, but I could obviously tell, he was playing a bit slow, so he didn't quite know the matchup too well. So
How do you find that matchup usually? Would you say it's pretty favorable?
I mean, at that point, we'd tested it over and over and over, so I knew pretty much that matchup in and out, so I knew what to exploit when it came up, so yeah.
Good stuff.
Round 2, I versed an ADP. Funnily enough, this was playing Super Scoop Ups, Rayquaza GX, and Energy Switches.
Nice. Interesting.
So that was a
deck.
really strange version, at least. Game 1, I think he flipped 2 Super Scoop Up tails for game.
And that was it?
Which, yeah. Game 2, I prize my Greninja, which is always great. Prize it, and he realizes, he starts with his Keldeo, and he realizes I'm not attacking or cherish balling for the Greninja. So he gradually starts super scoop upping Pokemon on his bench till he was bored with just the Greninja. And I scoop it up immediately. And then game 3, I just turned to Great Catcher, Flare Blitz on his ADP, and it was pretty much over.
Yeah, fair enough. That one seems like it.
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah, it definitely wasn't. Oh no, I think it actually was that game, but I Flare Blitzed early to get it out. So
yeah, nice.
Yep.
It's one of those games where I presume if you just get the Greninja, you should be fine. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like the moment you see it off the prize, you're like, oh yes, I won the game.
I don't lose this one.
Yeah. Round 3 was against another ADP. This version was the slow Guzma Hala version.
Yep.
That was much more popular. Game 1 was fairly similar to the last round. I just great catcher flare blitzed his ADP, got pretty lucky there, and he scooped it up like 3 turns in.
That's it.
Game 2, guess who's in the prizes again?
Oh no,
Greninja GX. He's chilling in there, and again his board is just like 2 Keldios and a Jirachi, and he doesn't bench anything else, so I just scoop it up to save some time.
Yep.
And then game 3, I think I might have benched him. I honestly don't remember. It was pretty early in the tournament, but I'm pretty sure it was a very quick win.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
So
seems pretty likely then.
yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Again, Greninja being prized.
I know. Round 4, I versus Nico Alabas playing Ability Zard, which I ended up versing in top 8.
Yep.
This was an awful set. I started Espeon Deoxys in both games.
Oh my god, that's horrific.
I know. And he just like he's whiffing welders as well, but eventually he hits the outrage into Flare Strike on my Espeon Deoxys, so I go down 3, and like
There's
that
nothing
was
you can do
pretty
about
much-
that.
Like that exact scenario happened game 2 as well, except he hit a welder to make the process a bit faster.
Yeah.
So
Let you go off and get something to eat at least.
yeah, I got absolutely stomped there.
Well, that's a matchup where you have to have pretty good draws. So if you open SBDO and falter a bit, then I can imagine it being pretty unwinnable.
Yeah. that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. You have to start Jirachi in that matchup, I feel like, to have a equal start that they do.
Yeah.
Round 5, I versus Eggrow, Alolan
Oh.
Executor Rowlet.
Really?
He's playing the Vileplume GX and the Lee Vannies to and 3 weakness guard energies to
Nice.
keep his Pokemon alive.
That's sick.
Game 1, it's a very slow matchup. I'm just tag purge, he heals all the damage, tag purge, he heals all the damage. You know, I'm slowly stalling him out to hit the right amount of cards I need to, you know, go the, you know, like
Yeah.
Flare Blitz, Stamp, like Giant Hearth, Hood, like in the same turn or whatever to stop his setup. And I think at one point he plays Cynthia Caitlyn and accidentally looks at the bottom card of his deck instead of his discard pile. So he gets a double prize
Judge,
penalty.
Judge. Please save
Yeah.
me from this madness.
I just called the judge over because I was like, yeah, it'll just be a warning, just like make sure it's on his record. But it ended up being a double prize penalty, which I was quite surprised about because it was, you know, it was pretty minor at that point. Because he appealed to the head judge, and the head judge was like, very, very quick about the ruling. He wanted to get it over and done with. He's like, you look to the bottom card of the deck, double prize penalty, and the guy's like, what? I'm like, that's how it is.
That's
And
hard.
just walks off, and I'm like, okay.
Alright, whatever.
Then I just go great catcher, jumping balloon Vileplume, and then great catcher, jumping balloon Vileplume.
It's like, oh,
Yeah,
I just win
Would you
now.
be able to
Cool.
win? Do you think you'd be able to win without the double prize penalty?
I mean, I don't think Eggrow's a very competitive deck, but I felt like I would have gradually won the game.
Would have eventually got there. It's just a matter of trying to grind it out.
Yeah, and then game 2 was it was the only time I turned 1 tag purged. I got so lucky. And he ended up like retreating into his Vileplume GX and using its GX attack. But all his cards are in Portuguese, and I don't know what
I don't even know what that
I don't
card
know what
does.
these attacks do. So I'm just trusting him to like tell me what
what
these attacks do. So he's like, so I'm like, what does that do? And I point to the GX, and he's like, burn, confuse, poison, or like paralyzed or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, right.
Whatever.
just all of the special conditions.
Okay,
Yeah,
just-
pretty
I
much.
have them all,
Then I
I
just-
guess.
So we figured it out, and then I just Malilana out, back in, and then killed a Vileplume. So yeah, pretty free matchup.
So that means we're going into round 6. What are you now? 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1. Yeah.
Nice.
Round 6, I versus Rahul playing Turbo Mewtwo. This game was another slaughter. He turn 1 tag purged me game 1. That's pretty much over. He had no, I think, like I missed the return knockout with double great catcher. So I lost that game. Then game 2, he starts as Reshizard and goes Welder attach, and then I missed the flare blitz, and he goes like, great catcher, welder attach, and then 6 energy double blazes for
Wow.
Mewtwo.
Oh
Not
no.
really
So
expecting that matchup, but hey, it works.
Yeah, we thought the Turbo Mewtwo version would be a pretty favorable matchup since they weren't playing Lopunny and Jigglypuff, but when you draw welder every turn,
Yeah, when
it's
you
pretty
roll
hard to have a favorable matchup.
when you attach 6 energy, waiting 2 turns
On the
it's hard
second
to deal
turn
with.
of the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that's got them all. That's got them all.
Basically, just abilities out at that point.
Yeah, so that was a quick loss as well. Round 7, I'm up against Chris Szymanski playing Blounds. Game 1, I'm going first. I get the turn 2 jumping balloon knockout on his Blound. He knocks out my Mewtwo, and then I go stamp jumping balloon on his Blound, and the game's pretty much over.
Yep, that's it.
Game 2, he goes second, and he gets... I think he hits turn 2 knockout on my Mewtwo with like double welder or something ridiculous.
Jeez.
And then I get like the return jumping balloon stamp, but he ends up hitting the knockout on my Mewtwo, so that was a quick round.
Yep.
And then the last game was pretty much exactly the same as the first game. You know, turn 2 jumping balloon into stamp jumping balloon, and the game's
Yeah,
barely
and
over.
And that's it. Yep.
Yeah, so that was a quick win. Round 8, I'm versing a first-year master from, I think he's from Denmark, playing ADP, the
Nice.
slow version.
Yep.
And like the matchup's fairly free. That was the moment I realized where you could miss slash into jumping balloon to take a quick knockout.
Yep.
Nice.
He was the first opponent who had choice helmets in his list, so
Right.
I lost game 1 because I stamped him to 2 and he hit Cherish Ball into his last 2 customs
Oh no.
to kill my Jirachi for game, which is a little frustrating, but I figured surely that won't happen game 2 and 3, and thank my lucky stars they weren't.
It didn't. And Greninja wasn't prized.
He wasn't prized any of the games. God
Worked
bless.
perfectly.
Would you say that matchup is easier for you than like an ends build for ADP?
They honestly both feel about the same. Like, the Ends Resolve versions don't play the choice helmets and they don't generally hit Malilanas very consistently, so you can generally stabilize even if they hit like turn 1 Ultimate Ray or something ridiculous, just based on the fact that you can match their power with Flare Blitz or, you know,
can
Break
take
Sard's
those-
attack.
You can take those big knockouts when they do get really lucky.
Yeah. And then round 9, I was 6-2 at that point, so round 9 I'm versing Pedro, and we just take the intentional draw into day 2.
Nice, fantastic. So 6-2-1, good effort.
Yep.
And now you're up with the big boys on the on the big tables, day 2.
Yep.
Thoughts going into day 2? Were you worried about any particular matchups? Were you excited to face certain matchups? Tell me what were you thinking?
So at that point, I just wanted to get top 64. I knew that about like 20 people or like 24 people would miss top 64, and top 64 would essentially lock me up Travel Award to OCIC, so
You
that
gotta
was my main goal for the tournament.
Travel
so I
all
just
the way to
wanted,
Melbourne for you.
I know, they give you $2,000 to travel to Melbourne.
Yeah,
like,
that's a $100 flight. Nice.
yeah, I know, right? So I just wanted to lock up Travel Award, so top 64 would be fine. I knew that ADP was very popular, and that was a matchup we were fairly confident in, so we figured surely we'd hit at least 2, take our wins, and then, you know, collect our
Go from
2
there.
boxes and get out of there.
Yep, go home.
Well,
Yeah.
if there's one thing I learned from listening to your your day 1 matchups, it sounds like Mega Lopunny Jigglypuff is probably worth playing in Mewtwo.
Yeah, it seems pretty
Oh,
good.
yes, it's insane value.
Alright, so you start off day 2. Where are we at? What's the matchup?
Round 10, I'm versing John Eng. He's playing, I think, the same 60 that Rahul was playing the day before, so Turbo Mewtwo.
Yep.
Thank my lucky stars, he doesn't turn 1 tag purge me.
Yeah, it just doesn't crush
So,
you straight away.
The matchup was pretty nice. I win the coin flip and get the turn 2 jumping balloon great catcher on his Mewtwo to take a knockout. Game 1, so I think he
Beautiful.
scoops it up pretty early after that because I transitioned it into tag purge and he has no real way of like counteracting that. And then game 2, I think, was fairly similar. Like, he hit the welders, but he like whiffed a switch, so I was able to get So his board was like a Mewtwo with 3 energy and then another Mewtwo with a psychic energy. So I knew that my only threat on that board was the Mewtwo with the psychic energy, funnily enough.
Yep.
Because he discarded his Viridian really early. So I was able to Great Catcher and then Brilliant Flare the Mewtwo with the psychic energy. He ends up getting the psychic energy and tag purging, but here's where Greninja GX is really nice because you can miss slash into the Mewtwo that just tag purged to get some quick damage at least. So he just scoops it up after that, like he doesn't see an out.
What can you do?
Yeah, take the win there.
Nice.
Round 11, I'm versing Alex Szymanski playing his weird. It was kind of like Abilities are, but it played Flareon GX as like the main focus, and then Great Catches. So I think the deck was like Turbo Power Burner into Infinity for game. Like that's what like the gist I got at least.
Fair enough.
I heard about that deck actually. It seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely. I didn't know what to expect. When I was walking to the table, somebody's like, "Yeah, Szymanski's playing an awful deck, so you probably have a free win." And I was like, "Oh,
that's a lot of pressure to put on you."
That doesn't help. Like,
yeah, you should just beat Alex Szymanski, man. You'll be fine.
Yeah. So, game 1, I hit turn 2, Great Catcher Flare Blitz into his Reshizard.
Yep.
Again, got pretty lucky there. And then like he misses knockouts left and right, just concedes.
Yep.
Game 2, he's going fairly slow as well. I'm not flare blitzing very fast. I think I hit like turn 3 or 4 welder. I'm just like, turbo striking Jirachis and stuff. And I go down to 2, I think, at some point. 2 prizes. I think I might have killed a Reshizard and a Jirachi. Go down to 2. He knocks out my Mewtwo with Flareon's GX attack, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's Victini Prism's attack, but you don't shuffle the energy back in.
Yeah, so just do the damage.
For 1 fire. Yeah. So he took a knockout there, and I made a really cute play of to stop him using Victini, I jumping ballooned the Flareon for 180. And then the next turn, I was like to Szymanski, I can't believe I'm doing this. I welder to my Dedenne, attach Rainbow Energy, and Static Shock to take the knockout.
Zap.
to force him to hit Great Catcher and the Victini. And I'm like, oh god, I hope that actually matters. He's like, oh no, it doesn't, my Victini's prized.
It's like playing around, like got all these cool little, I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be great.
Brain, like.
So yeah, no, it's prized, it doesn't matter, I can't do anything about it.
So I take the win there.
Oh dear, beautiful. So what's the record then, at this point?
Feeling
pretty good, I imagine?
8-2-1.
Yeah, that's sick.
Round 12, I'm versing Manuel Joe playing Baby Blown's Pidgey.
Right. Yep.
And funny story about this game. So Manuel Joe likes to shuffle his opponent's deck. Obviously you're allowed to do that after a search. He shuffles very aggressively. He ends up breaking like 13 of my sleeves or something like that. Breaks like 13 of my sleeves. He like,
oh no!
Like he chips the corners of one of my Rainbow Energies. Like he's a madman. I'll tell you. Manuel Joe is a madman. So anyway, I think game 1 I get like turn 3 cross division and reset stamp in the same turn, and he just his deck just falls over pretty much.
Yeah.
Game 2, I don't hit cross division, and the game falls over for me pretty much.
Yep.
He's able to hit his dolls early, so he just sticks them active, and like just as I'm about to cross division, he goes like Great Catcher, Fireball Circus for knockout. So that game was pretty much over. And then game 3, I hit the turn 3 cross division. Funnily enough, so on the first turn, I go Welder Attach. And I use Jumping Balloon as Jirachi for 60 damage.
Nice.
And he's laughing, like, you could
missed
knock out my Jirachi. And I'm like, yeah. Later in the game, he's at 2 prizes, I think. And then I hit the Exodia combo of cross division stamp, knockout his Jirachi and 3 Pidgeotos.
Wow.
If for prize
because of the
consistency's
jumping
gone.
balloon early.
Is that the game? Or?
Not quite. So there's 2 minutes left in the round. So luckily enough, at this IC they had like a clock, like a round clock. So and we did have a time extension because the judge came over and like asked about why there were so many broken sleeves on the table. I think
It's because of this hammer my opponent has brought with him.
yeah. So I think we got a time extension just to like check my deck to make sure there weren't any other broken sleeves. But it was coming down to the wire. I was playing quite fast to try and win, and I think it came down to like he had 1 airmail and he had to hit a Pokédoll to force the tie, and he missed. And I was able to. He like great catches out my Espeon Deoxys to stall it, and I had the last weakness guard energy in my deck to retreat it.
Nice.
So I took a very close win against that matchup. So I'm 9-2-1 at this point.
9-2-1, feeling pretty strong.
Yep.
That top 64
Yeah.
seems pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, damn, I might even get top 32 here.
Oh, I'm actually
This is
doing
so
better than
good.
I thought.
Yeah, I know. Round 13, I'm versing a Brazilian player. I think his name was Rafael. He was playing a very similar deck to ours. It was Mewtwo with Jirachis and like Guzmahals and stuff. He had a lot more weird techs in his deck though. He was similar to Brian's list with like the basic energies. And he had some like other tech cards like Lysana Labs, which I think definitely hurt him in the mirror match. Obviously, consistency generally wins the mirrors. So I think game 1 I lose off like he needs to hit Great Catcher off a reset stamp or something like that.
Yeah.
So I lose that game. We get mid-round deck checked. I think.
Fun times.
I'm not even sure why.
This guy's got damaged
Probably with the broken
sleeves.
sleeves.
Yeah.
Probably from the last round, if I'm being honest. So then game 2, he gets turn 2 Tag Purge, but I'm able to Great Catcher out as Latios, Dedenne, and then Great Catcher back out the Mewtwo, and Jumping Balloon take a knockout, and his board is just Latios, and that's it. He scoops it up like turn 3.
Yeah, fair enough. There's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, and then game 3, he starts Jirachi, but his start is very slow. Like he Stellar Wishes into Welder, but he has no fire energies, so he just like passes, Stellar Wishes again, misses the half, and then plays his Lysana Labs and passes, Stellar Wish again and misses. So I'm able to get my board fairly set up before he's able to do anything. And he just has a really slow game, and I'm just able to out-tempo him with Flare Blitz and then Tag Purges. So yeah, took the win there.
Yeah, and like you said, it's about consistency, right, when you're playing the mirror?
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point, are you thinking you're probably in a good spot to make top 8?
Like, I'm making
Yeah,
top 64, I've done it!
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got Travel Award. Awesome. So, I was 10-2-1 at that point, so we knew that 10-2-1 would get up paired to Andre playing the Dole stall deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other person would get down paired to I think it was a 30-point player, I think, at that point. So, like 10-3 or something, not
Yeah.
sure. So I was just crossing my fingers, I was just happy to be at top tables, like getting my travel award was pretty sick,
That's good.
winning some extra money.
Can't complain.
ended up
Get a whole
getting
bunch
the
of
up-
Portuguese boxes of cards. Can't
I
complain.
know, I got 12 boxes, and just for anyone who doesn't know, Portuguese boxes, they're similar to, they're like Dollar Tree packs. So
Nice.
you get 5 cards plus an
Oh.
energy, and the code for a 6-card pack online.
Oh, nice.
That's where they
yeah.
come
That's
from.
how you get them.
Yeah. I went on an opening spree on my account this morning
Like, check
because I
all
opened
out
2
all
of them.
these cards.
Yeah. So luckily in the last round I get up paired to Andre. He happily takes the ID because he's guaranteed in. I'm not guaranteed, but based on like the opponents I versed earlier in the day, like John Eng, Shemansky, Manuel Joe was on his win in as well. So I figured like I'd rather just take the risky ID and
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
it's
no,
better than
like,
playing against Stolstor, right?
Yeah, give yourself an opportunity to get in there rather than having to force your way through a bad matchup.
Yeah, exactly. So, uh, luckily enough, finally, so I was getting messages from people watching the stream. It was like, "Oh, you got so lucky, 8th seed." But like about like 5 minutes earlier, they made an announcement over the comms that were like, "Oh, Matthew Burriss, please report to the Hive." And I came over, and the guy's like, "Oh, congrats on making top 8." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know standings are out."
Yeah,
yet."
I didn't even realise.
Yeah. So they call us over. Apparently, I'm on stream, and I'm like, "Oh, sick!"
Cool.
Like,
Sweet.
yep. And I see Robin standing there as well. I was like, "Oh, awesome!"
Oh no.
Versing Robin, like,
What's the
didn't
worst
even
can
know
happen? It's
The
fine.
other standings
Yeah.
at this point.
no, I hadn't seen the standings until after I lost top 8.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then obviously, if you watch that game on stream, game 1 was pretty standard abilities but they hit their welders, so they
So they got
win.
there.
And obviously, he abused the fact that I didn't have Naganadal to snipe his Turtonator, so he just loaded up with 6 energies. And then game 2, it was start the Dene, prize the Dene. Funnily enough, almost won that game. If I welded into reset stamp, I had a reasonable chance, but I had to get pretty lucky to come back.
I don't know. Have you actually watched that stream back since then? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because somebody said they got my player card wrong, so I
Oh,
watched
okay.
it back to
Had
make
to-
sure.
had to check
Yes,
the-
yeah, they did.
Because in the first game, if you didn't know, they I think he unprized 3 fire energy off of the first knockout, and he needed at least 2 of them to make it possible to get the Victini KO. So I was pretty lucky off the prizes as well. I mean, obviously, you're not surprised to see 3 fire off the prizes.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, like, if you're going off basics, if you're going off statistics, like, the most likely prizes would be, like, 6 fire energy, so
Yeah, well, I
they
mean,
play 18.
They play like
Oh, wait, at least
1/3
two
of their
or three.
deck is.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's not a
So,
crazy thing to see 3.
Yeah, a little unfortunate. I think the main things were, like, him, like, he played it very smart watching back. Like, at one point he could have, like, communication for his Vulpix, but instead realized he needed to prioritize Welder, so he communicationed for Jirachi, and then eventually got Welder off that Stellar Wish, which was really smart of him. Obviously, previous world champion, so
Yeah. He seems like a good player. He seems pretty good.
yeah.
Also, I think it was game 2 when you had like a whole bunch of your important text prized. I can't remember what exactly. I think you prized the Charizard and one other card that was pretty important. Did you think that impacted the game at all?
I mean, obviously, prizing the Dene impacted the game.
Oh, yes,
fairly
that's a big
problem.
But like, he had a fairly slow start as well. Honestly, I feel like if I started Jirachi, I'd have a real chance in that matchup. Fortunately, starting the Dene, just attach passing to my Mewtwo and hoping for the best.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, anyway, top 8's pretty solid. And now, you mentioned before that they got something wrong on your player card. What did they get wrong? Because I didn't see it.
So they, instead of putting top 4 2015 Australian Nationals and Seniors, they put OCIC. So they're like, he must be a recently aged up Masters player, and I was like, after the game, it's like, yeah, by recently aged, I mean like 4 years.
It was 5 years ago, whatever.
I think I remember the commentators saying that as well. They're like, oh yeah, another senior who's just aged up is doing pretty well.
Yeah, they were surprised by my accomplishments, like the 32 player top 8 New Zealand special event and stuff like that.
They don't need to know.
That's
all
alright.
Yeah, exactly.
Just as long as no one posts a comment where you actually tell anyone on the internet, we should be fine.
Nobody snitched me in the chat, so we're all good.
So top 8 at it. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
But hey, anyway, top 8 of an international championships is a big deal. So congrats, Matt, on a massive tournament, and this has put you in really, really good stead for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I'm rank 1 in Oceania now by
Please.
90 something points. I mean, naturally after top 8 in IC.
Of course, yeah. I'm first ranked. It's fine.
Yeah. So just need consistent placings at regionals, and hopefully I get my free trip to London.
That'd be really sick. And next tournament for you, I presume, is going to be Brisbane Regionals. Any thoughts, any hot tips for the players for those upcoming standard regional tournaments?
I mean, honestly, like this, if you're thinking of playing this deck, definitely be wary that people know the lists. They know what cards you can exploit. I definitely feel like the ADPs will start heavily teching for this matchup, playing Girafarig to Lost Zone the Greninja, or Absol actually is a tech we didn't think about, because obviously we're pretty reliant on escape boards to retreat our Jirachis because of Guzmahala, so Absol's a bit of a pain, but honestly, like, the deck's very consistent, and like, if you're looking for just like a pretty safe play for the tournament, I'd definitely suggest this one.
Yeah, it seems pretty strong. Hey, we've been going for 45 minutes here. Probably time to wrap it up. Thanks so much, Matt, for joining us the day that you returned from a 40-hour flight from Brazil, which does not sound like a fun time.
It definitely wasn't.
But thanks for coming on, man.
For those who don't know, Australia is not close to Brazil at all.
Well, I mean, you could go across. You could go across the Pacific, but instead you went via Dubai. So 40 hours.
Gotta save that like $100, man.
Yeah, it's cheap, man. It's cheap. Go all the way around. Thanks, Matt, for that. Yeah, it's definitely
absolutely
worth it. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks, Jordan, for sitting through this really engaging conversation. It's been great, but I understand it is hot in Adelaide. I am stinking it up over here. It's horrible. So thanks, Jordan.
Not a problem. I'm sure it's no better in Brisbane.
It's pretty horrible. So just as a side note, for anyone who's interested in Australian weather, where we are at the moment, it's 42 degrees Celsius. I can't have the air conditioner on because otherwise the noise is too loud. You might have heard it earlier on. I turned off the fan because I forgot that I had it on because it was so hot. Anyway, we'll stop talking. Thanks everyone for watching. If you like the content, consider subscribing. Click the sable eye in the middle of the screen. On the left-hand side are some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, and on the right we have our Cosmic Eclipse gameplay and deck profile playlist. We'll have the entire list in the description. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at thesableeyes_YT. And apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day, whatever it is that you're doing. We'll see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye.